welcome to Barmy Army TV. We are delighted to be joined by a man with a cover drive money simply can't buy, which delivered him a whopping 22 Test centuries and saw him play a major part in five winning Ashes series. Massive welcome to Mr. Ian Bell. Thanks so much for joining us, mate.
Afternoon, how are we?
Yeah, really good. We've got some members on the line waiting to ask you some questions, so let's get straight to it. Question number one is from Isaac. Isaac is a Barmy Army junior. He's 13 years old from Berkshire. And I'm not too sure I'll even remember this series, but I think his question's about the 2010-11 series. Over to you, Isaac.
Hi, Ian.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just wanted to ask, what were the celebrations like after that win down under?
Incredible. I mean, thinking back, I still think that Ashes, winning in Australia and probably actually winning in India as well, Test matches. They were the two best Test series I was ever involved in. So, yeah, memorable times. Again, that team as well at that time was probably just at its absolute peak. We had Cookie scoring 1 million runs, a batting order that was probably at the top of its game, and then a bowling unit as well. So, yeah, amazing celebrations. And I suppose it's always a little sweeter when you're doing it on, enemy soil. To drink Australian beer in their dressing room celebrating is a pretty outstanding feeling. If that's one place I could go back to in time in my cricket career, that SCG dressing room for that hour, those couple of hours after that would definitely be one of them.
Well, fingers crossed there'll be a bit more celebrating this winter for Rooty and the lads. So next question is from Lewis, who is over in Surrey.
I just wanted to ask, so as a player that played the ball so late, so well, what was your routine for picking up the flight of the ball, and how did you know to play it so late and on the back foot?
Well, a mixture. I think again, growing up, technically, I had a good coach that I worked with, and we all we did really was work on the basics about knowing top of off stump and always talking about letting the ball come and playing under your eye line. I think when you're playing seamers in England on seamer friendly pitches or the swing in the air, the later you can play the ball, the better. I think for playing spin, what I learned actually very early days with Duncan Fletcher, actually, again, and a lot of the guys, if you watch them, they'll go a little bit wider with their stance. So again, you're getting your eyes nice and level, not too much movement going up and down with your head, and then you're playing the ball as late as you can for spin. And I think Rooty's probably shown that, some masterclasses this winter about, having to play the ball late, certainly off the back foot to spinners and on the front foot. So I think it's a little bit different from playing spin to seam. But a lot of it was just practicing, drilling, from underarm throwdowns to throwdowns onto the machine and bowlers, about just playing the ball late. It just gives you a much more of an opportunity or chance to smother the ball when it's just moving in the air a little bit or off the pitch.
Yeah, no, interesting. Thank you.
Brilliant question, very technical. Wasn't expecting that on the Barmy Army TV. Thanks very much. Next up we have Nathan. He's over in Warsaw. What would you like to ask Ian?
I'm really asking for my brother, who wants to play county and England level cricket. If you could change one thing about your career, what would that be?
It's a good question. I actually got asked this yesterday. I was doing a little something. Do you know what? I think the reality in international cricket, what you end up doing, certainly when you retire and everything, you look back, you realise sometimes you waste a lot of time worrying and just worrying about things that actually don't really matter, whether it's a bit out of form or, and you concentrate on things that really it's that are irrelevant. And I think when you retire and you go through it, or you realise every moment you've got to enjoy, even sometimes the bad stuff and being a little bit out of form. So I think if I had that opportunity again, then I'd go back and I'd see things a little bit differently. I feel very lucky that what I managed to achieve and the teams that I played with, the individuals I played with, and the series we won, I feel very lucky. But yeah, I think sometimes as a player, when you're in that bubble and you're in your own little world and cricket, you can overthink things too much. And probably, like I said, a lot of cricketers get in that position until they retire and look back, and that you worry. You sometimes realise you're just worried about things that you really shouldn't have worried about.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Nathan. Next up, we've got Barney, who wants to know a bit more about your technique as well.
Hi Ian.
Hello, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and big fan. You kind of played at the highest level across all three formats, and played sort of across the world, sort of subcontinent, Australia, England. How did you kind of prepare yourself mentally, depending on those like varying factors of which format you're playing and also where in the world you're playing in the conditions?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's the skill, isn't it? Now, and you're watching the lads at the moment, the skill to be able to adapt. I mean, to be an international cricketer, you've got to be able to, again, understand what's going to be successful in England and then India and then Australia. So being able to adapt and evolve your preparation for that and trying to figure out as quickly as you can. The best players that I played with were the ones that could understand what was going to be successful in those different conditions and those different formats. And you'd practice accordingly to do that, so the likes of Joe Root, KP, Cookie, they'd figure out things very quickly.
Brilliant, superb insight. Thank you very much. Next up, Dominic from the Sticky Wicket podcast up at Nottingham Uni. Looking forward to this one, mate.
Hi Ian, it's a pleasure to talk to you. As a fellow ginger, you were an absolute hero growing up. So it's such a pleasure being able to talk to you today.
Not Johnny Bairstow.
You and Johnny Bairstow, Stokes, Flintoff. It was the ginger time.
Flintoff, we've gone Flintoff. I like it. Morgan.
Morgs, obviously. At your end, we asked some very hard-hitting questions. We asked Ian Cobain what county ground had the best lasagna, and Ellie Oldroyd about Jonathan Agnew's banjalele, I think he called it. So Ian, this is another very tough question. Which ginger English cricketer did you share the most amount of sun cream with? As a fellow ginger, this is an important topic to us.
The most. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of that. I mean, again, early days, you have to slap it on, don't you? Some of those Australian, New Zealand in particular. New Zealand gets you a bit more than you think. Who would it be? Probably, it'd have to be Stokes at times. I mean, again, I think, to be honest, Stokes and Bairstow's a little bit nuts when it comes to that. He'll just go out and just get as red as possible. But good question. I mean, Flintoff used to whack it on. But yeah, we'll go. Well, to be fair, any of them. We all did. You've got to. We're English, going abroad. We have to.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dominic. Final question from me, Belly. Obviously, Barmy Army known for our songs, and you've had your own songs down the years. But what fellow song from your teammates did you enjoy hearing when the fans got going? What was your favourite non-Ian Bell Barmy Army?
There's been a number. Tim Ambrose one was quite a good one. I remember him getting 100 in New Zealand. I think, to be honest with you, the best one for me. I mean, there's so many good ones, and it's difficult to separate. But I think when Broady was going, I think that's what I always remember. Broady was the kind of bowler. And there was so many sessions, certainly Ashes cricket, when his tail was up and the crowd was going, the songs were singing. You remember those, and I think they were probably the ones, like I said, when certainly the Barmy Army got going, when Broady was in one of those spells, for me were the most memorable.
Brilliant. Well, brilliant. Thanks so much to our members for throwing in your questions, and again, thanks so much to the one and only Ian Bell for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Can't wait to have you back on Barmy Army TV one day soon.
100%, definitely. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks very much, mate.